Good evening, and welcome to Artist Talk on Art on Monday, May 18th, 2026. I'm Doug Shear, president of ATOA. Tonight we feature painter Doron Wolf in a dialogue with Professor and Senior Lecturer Emeritus at Yale University, Margaret Olin, on Wolf's art. The dialogue, which may run up to 90 minutes, is copyrighted by ATOA and all rights are reserved. Please hold your questions or comments until close to the end of the presentation. We'll let you know when it's a good time to share. There's no event on Memorial Day, Monday, the 25th, but we will resume on Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern with a dialogue between myself and biographer and historian Gail Levin on her latest publication, Alice Baber, An Artist's Triumph Over Tragedy. And now some background on our participants tonight. Doron Wolf is a New York-based artist, a figurative painter whose work examines how identity, intimacy, and perception are shaped through images in a visually saturated world. Working primarily in oil paint, Wolf creates carefully constructed scenes drawn from domestic interiors and everyday life, often mediated through mirrors, screens, reflections, and art historical references. His paintings explore the tension between lived experience and its representation, blending contemporary visual culture with echoes of classical painting traditions. He has shown extensively in both myriad group shows and numerous solo exhibitions since around 2008, close to 100 exhibitions in all, perhaps more. His work is in many collections, including those of museums in the US and abroad. Margaret Olin is a Senior Lecturer Emerita in the Department of Religious Studies at Yale University. When at Yale, she taught seminars in visual theory, the visual culture of witnessing and commemoration, and the religious performance of space. She has a PhD in history of culture from the University of Chicago and completed studies in photography at the Institute of Design at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Among her books are The Nation Without Art, examining modern discourses in Jewish art, Touching Photographs, Chicago 2012, Photography and Imagination, New York and London 2020, edited with Amos Morris-Reich, and the photographic text, The Bitter Landscapes of Palestine, with David Shulman in 2024. And now our two presenters and dialoguers.
Thank you, Doug, for this wonderful introduction, and thank you, Marina, and all the team of Artist Talk on Art for this opportunity, and thank you for everybody that joined us. And I'm going to start by just sharing my presentation. And all right. And thank you, Peg, for joining me as well for this dialogue. Okay, so we'll start. Let's start. So I wanted to start. Let's just start with the painting, I think, and we go from there in my work. That would be
sure.
All right.
I'll start talking if you like. First of all, my thanks also to everyone involved here, Doug, Maruna, and the people who have been corresponding with us all along from the group, as well as everybody who's come to listen to us. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about Doron's work, especially with Doron. And I'm the one that wanted to start with this one. I think it's that Utah marriage is a particularly rich image to start with, because not only is it one of my favorites, it's also one of the more complex ones, and it just brings up every issue, I think, that Doron has worked with, as well as giving you a real sense of what he is coming out of. Now, when you first look at Utah marriage here, you might assume, and we're going to start with what the painting shows in its actual material. You might assume that these guys have a nice little apartment in Utah. Well, that's actually not what's going on here. And in order to understand what's going on here, it's useful to know a little bit about how marriage is regarded in Israel, how the ceremony is regarded in Israel, and why one is, in fact, in an apartment in, I believe, Haifa. Is that right?
Yeah, so maybe I will jump into that and
And this is where exactly I'd like you to jump in and
so this is
explain what's
actually
going on here.
this is a very autobiographical painting, and it was around COVID. I'm originally from Israel, and in Israel, you can't marry a civil marriage. You have to get outside of Israel to get civil marriage. So usually you can get, so it was in COVID, so people, first of all, we couldn't get outside and we wanted to get married. And because it was in COVID, there was kind of a loop that you could actually marry in Utah online by Zoom and then get civil marriage by Zoom, which a lot of couple try to do. And then it was actually a bit of a problem with it because then the government decided, after we kind of declared about our marriage, when you went to the authorities, you have to, so you have to go to the authorities to tell them you got married. So when we actually declared about that, then they checked and they said we didn't go out of the country to get married. And in the beginning, they actually didn't acknowledge our marriage because it wasn't outside of the country, because we married inside the country. I mean, the license was from Utah, of course, which is outside the country. But they still, so when they understood it, they tell us that they told us they're gonna write us about it. And then there was actually it was in court, like in the Supreme Court, and not only our case, a lot of people actually try to do that kind of marriage to get those married from Israel, outside of Israel, and the Supreme Court actually ruled that this marriage are legit. And after 2 years, even more, they send us the IRS send us a nice letter that they want us to give the IRS together, and then we understand that they acknowledge the marriage. So that was part of it. And yes, and of course, because it was in COVID, we were able to do it in Zoom, so it was actually a great idea. And of course, some of it, the ceremony was very intimate. It was us with two friends of ours, and their dog and our dog. So it was very intimate. And of course, you can see that we don't have any. The clothes are very not festive or not anything. It's like my blue jeans short with a t-shirt, and my husband did the same. And I took that painting, and of course, I kind of tried to took the composition that. First of all, I took then my friend took some pictures from that ceremony, and I took the picture and kind of changed the composition in a way that it will echo the Arnolfini marriage in a way. And then I decided, of course, there wasn't any mirror there. I decided to put a mirror in the painting to echo that. And even those flip-flop, there was kind of the Adidas flip-flop. I put them there to kind of echo that painting. We have two dogs, not one dog, of course. And I put an IKEA chandelier instead of the chandelier of the Arnolfini marriage, which take it to a more, I think, more kind of contemporary setting in a way. And I think something about this, the way we actually standing and everything is very a bit very connected from where we came. You know that we're without any something festive or anything in that sense.
But of course, Israel is a kind of uh, an informal culture.
Yes.
People could have I could have completely imagined people having a marriage in Israel that would be also rather informal. The only problem with it is that since Israel doesn't allow secular marriage, you have to have a religious marriage if you want your marriage to be immediately recognized in Israel.
Yes.
And that tends to suggest that you might wear some clothing that responds to a ritual situation. But even so, it's just it's very informal. The members of the Knesset often show up in T-shirts. You know, you don't do that in the American Congress, for example. So there's the informality of it. There's this sort of the issue of, I mean, what is a place anyway? Are you in Utah if you are in front of a screen that is showing you interacting with someone there who is in fact doing something that is going to have huge consequences for your life? And the screen itself is blank, which is the other very interesting aspect of this. You don't show the two witnesses that you brought to the wedding, the two friends. Instead, you have two dogs that kind of represent the witnesses. It's all it's very informal, and everything is displaced. The people are displaced. They're in Israel, but they're out of Israel. You and Oren. The witnesses are displaced into the dogs, and in a funny way, that actually does suggest aspects of the Arnold Feeney wedding itself, which we could show, right? It's
Yeah, we have it here. We have it here.
That's the Arnold Feeney wedding is in fact a painting wedding certificate, painted wedding certificate.
Mhm.
In the background, you'll see, Jan van Eyck was here. That's the witness of this wedding, signing, you might say, the certificate.
Yeah, he signed it here. You're right.
Right. They're not dressed the same way that you and Oren are dressed, obviously, but they're also not they're also displaced as well, in the sense that for all practical purposes, this at least looks like what we call a shotgun wedding.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I tried I tried even to put some of the colors, like I put some, like in the painting, I put those green and red garment of some. It's really hard to see it, I think, here in the Zoom, but there is some kind of even on that, some kind of an Adidas sign. So, like to put another reminder for it. But I thought it's actually you could see the echoes of that in this painting.
absolutely, and I think in the style too. Once we get to
Yeah.
that, now we've kind of come around to that. In the style too, there's a lot that suggests uh, the the Dutch masters, and and even the Arnold Feeney wedding. It's a it's the colors, but it's also the way that you handle the paint and the detail. I think that comes out even more in some of the others we'll see, but
Yeah.
you're but you paint these modern scenes in many ways as though they were Dutch old masters paintings, showing particularly the feeling of the cloth, the um, and the use of modern versions of the accoutrements of the old paintings, like the mirror, for example. And the dogs, which we will see crop up over and over again, both in your paintings and in the models that you
Yeah, and I thought because I thought like to put like all those shiny objects like this ball, for example, and all that. I thought this is kind of take it to because we understand this is more of a modern kind of situation. And then he take all of that, kind of Dutch painting to something very contemporary, even some kind of puppet. And I thought that this vinyl floor. I thought it's very funny. Like compare this vinyl floor to the floor in the uh, of course, there are no Arnolfini wedding, which is a lot more, heavy in a way. But yes, right.
um yeah, and of course there's also the juxtaposition of the window and the screen.
Yes.
I mean, you are looking through a screen at a presumably someone who is in the process of officiating at your wedding, um, although you can't see anything, but you also can't see out the window. Um, both of them, one is covered, the other one is blank. Uh,
Yes, I'm with you. So maybe we'll continue to
yeah, let's continue with the next one, which also shows you
so this one is
the mirror again.
I'm this is it's a painting that I'm kind of obsessed about this painting. I don't know why, but I'm really obsessed about it. Since I was a child, it's something the Arnolfini wedding. It was a painting that it was always very important for me. I don't know why. And this one is actually it's kind of another series. I have in this presentation I have kind of multiple series that I did of paintings. And in this one we actually what I actually painted the mirror of the Arnolfini. But I painted, you can see that I painted a reflection of the mirror of the Arnolfini in a mirror. And in the foreground of the painting, we actually see a very short-handed the book that from I took from him the mirror. So in a way, for me, I kind of like put a mirror across a mirror, of course, which is when you think about it philosophically. But but of course, it's not a real mirror. It's only the signifier of a mirror. It's not a real mirror. And even when I draw it, I thought maybe to put like Doron Wolf, but then I decided to leave it with the Van Eyck signature. And I kind of give the hint of very some kind of like that I use kind of a flashlight or something that is very artificial, and you see it here by the white light that we kind of see it here. And then, of course, I took I changed all the colors. I wanted to be more like kind of a very, very green, like very bright green and orange. I changed all the color of the scene. And this one is of course empty, like in the other part and this is a very small painting. And when I thought about it when I did it, because it's very square, it's almost like an Instagram.
Like that.
Yeah, it's a very square painting, which is not like it's not a traditional kind of square is not a traditional format, of course. I mean, for me, it's not really traditional. So it was very interesting for me. And I think it's kind of echo that. It's kind of it's because we're seeing the echo of something. And I thought about the mirror and that it reflects the mirror. It's not only a mirror that reflects the mirror, even this painting that is what we have the city reflection. It's actually a printed painting in an art book. So we kind of see something that it's already is not the original, of course. It's a printed. It's something that that takes something that it's not that it's only signifier the original. It's not the original. And I told you guys that I'm really that it's an image that I'm really obsessed with, and I think about the way I actually saw it in the first. I saw it in a book, in an art book. I didn't saw the original, of course, at first the first time I saw the painting. So in a way, I took something that is printed, it is not real, and then I did a reflection from it, and then I took a picture, and then so it's like, and then I took, and then I did a painting, so it's kind of go, like from one signifier to another signifier, and so on, if that makes sense in a way.
Well, also it's a mirror of a mirror that should be, reflecting more the mirror hundreds of times, but it doesn't because it's a reproduction of a mirror.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that it plays with the idea of, what does a mirror really reflect anyway? Um,
Yeah, so I think that this is actually showing that in a way, I don't think that my work is so realistic. I think in a lot of ways it's figurative, of course, but in some way it's even some kind of surrealistic because of all, the digital stuff that I'm put inside, and because we actually seen the reflection of something, and I paint the reflection of something.
yeah, I think it's realistic in the sense that if you wanted to, you could
Yeah,
set up this whole thing
of course.
and take a photograph of it. And in fact, you work from photographs
Yeah,
often
I work from
anyway.
a lot of reference. Yeah, I work
So
from a lot of.
in that sense, it's realistic. Um, it's not realistic in a lot of other senses, which we might get to, but it's definitely realistic in that one sense that you recognize it. You could imagine taking a photograph of it. But
Yeah.
of course, a photograph is not the end be all and end all of realism either.
Yeah, I mean, a photograph it doesn't get a real aesthetic. The aesthetic of a photograph, it's some kind of a copy of realistic, but it's not exactly. I mean, the angles a lot of the time are very distorted.
Yeah,
And so, all right, well, let's
it
not.
counts. Yeah, it counts as realistic.
Yeah,
It counts as what we think of as real because that's what we think photographs are. Can we go on?
yeah. This is another one that I did that is connected to that painting. And this is, of course, a very kind of very intimate scene of stuff that left around on the bed. You see like the jeans and the underwears and this very male towel. I actually does look at it on the composition almost like it's an abstract painting because everything is like the way it's actually building it catch the format. And yes, like, do you have something to?
To me, this seems like a another very really interesting interpretation of the Dutch masters. I mean, it is they uh, they just exalt in these rich, beautiful textures of cloth and the folds and the way the light catches them, and uh, and it makes it seem very, very elegant. Makes their garments seem very elegant in the way the cloth drapes over their paintings, and you do all that. The these bits of underwear and blue jeans actually glow in this painting, which you should really be able to see in reality. It's very striking, um, but um, but it's blue jeans.
Yeah, it is. It
It's
is.
it's blue jeans and underwear.
Yeah,
Um,
I do try to take them every day, and of course you can see that all the part of the stuff that you see on the bed are very manly, very manly garment, which I thought maybe kind of symbolize that it's a male couple that that actually live in that bed. So I mean, it does hint that I think in a way.
And there's that aspect, of course, to all the work that you do of in about your life with Oren, um, is often about these sorts of issues. You think back to the wedding, which, of course, um, if I mean, I don't suppose you can't actually get a um, religious gay wedding, can
No,
you?
you can't. No, you can't. Usually, what people do, they go out of the country
Yeah,
to
they
get
go to
married.
Cyprus. They have a
And
great
then they do
vacation.
some kind of a party, and then somebody maybe will wed them in that party. But that's not going to happen. So people going to Cyprus or going to Spain or going, to wherever they can.
Yeah.
And even going to the US. Sometimes they even go to Utah.
They could, yes. But in any case, there's this sort of richness that you see in these paintings that suggest the old masters, and you always suggest a little bit in somewhere in the painting. There's in a lot of your paintings, actually, not in the Arnolfini wedding, but in the other paintings, there's almost always some little bit of a reproduction
There's a lot of
of
time.
the of one of these paintings, often the Dutch masters, but not only those, um, in order to suggest the sort of source and the dis the distance, but also the closeness to those sources.
Yes, I mean it is one of my inspiration. And then again, I do think about the way that I actually first were introduced to those. So was introduced to those, when I was a child, most of it wasn't digitally, it was actually in those art books. And so that's really interesting, I think, in that matter. Yes. We'll go to another slide. Right. This is I mean, we talked about the dog, so this is a painting, it's actually of the my late dog. She was very mythological dog, but and I paint her in I call it gatekeeper, and I what I actually did, I mean, I put it. We have the dog here, and then we have, of course, the old master. We have Velasquez, of course. We have the last Meninas, of course. And so the beginning, I actually wanted to connect the image of my dog with that painting, and I did something here because I work from a lot of reference. I don't work from one reference when I work. I usually I look at a lot of picture when I work and then combine them in a one format, like kind of a collage, but in a way, but in a painted collage in a way. And I try to make it as you won't see, that you almost won't feel that I did it, that it is like that it's to give some kind of photorealistic feel to it, that it will feel like that the way the image was. But in this one, if you really look at it if you look at it for a while, you can see that the angles of the floor and the angles of the book they're in a different panels and they can't add up. You can see that I actually put like an open book with the Las Marinas, and then I painted from another source, the dog. And in the end, after that, I wanted to get more, kind of more to get to relate it to, to the Las Marinas. So to give the hint of me inside of the painting, I decided actually from no source to put like kind of a mirror behind the dog, and then to put some kind of a flashlight that will give the hint that I was there. Like you can say like the photographer painter or the painter photographer. So it's kind of give the hint that I was kind of in a way that way to make an homage to Velasquez in that painting. And I thought it's interesting to make her a gatekeeper because she's like kind of the gatekeeper of the art world. I mean, she's a very smart dog that she has, the last maninas, to her feet. This is like she's reading art or something. So in that way, I thought about gatekeepers, about art gatekeepers, and you can maybe see, the door in the background. And I thought that the floor, the painted floor is really kind of you can feel, the actual old master in that floor in a way. I mean
Well, and also the cushion.
and the cushion, yeah.
The cushion has looks like a silk cushion in your painting, something you might see in um, Las Meninas. So it's and this dog has a real very regal attitude as well. And then there's the light in the background. You say it's you, but I also see it as a sort of reflection of the divine or something coming in from the upper left. That's
Interesting. No, it's interesting to think. I do think maybe it's some kind of a Mises, Yeah, it's interesting to think about that way. I mean, it does look some kind of cosmic nebula, this flash on the. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, interesting. So, all right, we'll continue.
sure.
Yeah, yeah. This is oh.
Oh, yes, you can see better in the background what's going on.
So this was
Um,
kind of in the some kind of some very dark way to put the door. I think the door is kind of there, so she's kind of the gatekeeper of the house in a way as well. So you can think about it that way as well. Uh, all right. This is one of my more recent painting. I call it Narcissus Metamorphosis, and you can see like half of the painting is really a mirror. More than half, like three-quarter of the painting is actually a mirror. And this is a self-portrait, of course, of me inside the mirror. And we have this kind of cosmic nebula as well, because I took a snapshot of myself. It actually was more than one. I took a lot of them, and then I combined it in a way that will look good enough for me. And then there is another light in my studio as well in the background. And because you can actually see all the dirt in the mirror, so you see a lot of the small dot of the dirt of everything. And here you see that I'm looking at a book. So this is a Metamorphosis of Narcissus of Dali, actually, if we're talking about surrealism. And behind of it, you see Venus in a Mirror of Velázquez. And in the foreground, you actually see the work of Dali. So this work I did it was kind of talking with another work that I did in 2012 actually. So it's kind of, you can say that this is my metamorphosis of that painting in a way. And in this one that I call Narcissus, it's you have the same element, but it's a bit different. You still have the mirror and you have the flash, but here the flash, I think it's even more striking, the light of the flash,
and it has gold edges to it,
and it's got gold edges to it. And
rays going out of it.
when you look actually in the real painting, I took it, that if you take colors that compare each other, so you could actually can't, it look very distorted. So uh, I put like a real small spot of color that can't get, that it's really hard to the eye to see them. And it looked very distorted. And then you have here the Vic Muniz Narcissus, which is of course a quote uh, of Caravaggio Narcissus, which is a quote of a quote. And this is actually Marilyn Monroe legs that I found in some magazine. So I combined it all together, and I saw that it's a bit talking about pop art as well. Like all of those stuff together kind of talk with pop art as well. So I kind of did an homage to that, but here you can't really see my portrait. You can see me behind the flash in a way. Um, so I kind of took it from, I think I took it to another level. I thought it took it to another level. What do you think about that, Spen?
Well, I mean, I think that the different kinds of representational methods that you use in the later one are in a way much more interesting, and work kind of better than only having reproductions in the image, which is almost true of the earlier one, um, where you have a sort of degrees of distortion. I mean, the book that you are supposedly looking at that looks more like you're breathing smoke out of your nose, is really looks the book looks more realistic than anything else in the image.
Yes.
Your your self-portrait looks, I don't know, uh, almost like a superhero comic book character.
Okay, interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
I mean, it looks flat. It looks again like it's breathing light or something. It has this urgency to it. And then up above again, there's that light coming down. But below it, in the foreground of the painting, is it really is. There's a huge amount of distortion. Um,
Yes.
it it's as though you're going from one kind of representational formula to another one throughout the painting, and it makes it very kind of very dynamic.
Mhm.
Uh,
I do think I use more than one language in the painting, in actually in almost every painting. And you could really see that I did this one and that one, and I could really feel that here I actually work this way, and that in the here I work that way. So you have more than one language yeah, I'm with you on that. Interesting. All right. This is of course the Dali painting, and this is the Vic Monet's picture, of course.
mhm. You
Uh,
didn't say where Vic Monet comes in, did you, into your paintings?
yeah, I put it here. You see the
Oh yeah,
reproduction.
there it is. Yeah, right. Okay.
I thought it was interesting then to use it because I thought it's a quote of a quote in a way, and I quote that, so it's kind of in that
Mirrors
way.
within mirrors, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of mise en abîme in all of my painting. You see, you get something inside of something inside of something. So, I mean, that's the way I feel about it a lot of the time. This one I call it the Black Mirror, which is a very, I think that in all of my painting, I talk a lot about or a lot of light that is almost looming the surface, and you don't really see because you have so much light that it gets distorted, or or you almost don't have light, like I did here, or like I did behind the dog. And this one I call it Black Mirror. So you can actually see the same composition. I use a lot of composition that actually look a bit the same. You can look at it the same. That you have like in the foreground you have some kind of an open art book or a magazine of an art book. Here you have the ambassador.
The painting,
And
what we should take a look at the painting just briefly if you can, and then
yeah,
come back.
and in the ambassador you have the metamorphosis of the skulk in the painting
Skull, yeah,
that you can only see it if you look in 45 degrees to
to the painting,
the
yeah.
painting. And then behind it, I put some kind of an empty glass, like a very, actually some kind of an IKEA glass, like, and you have here a closed book, and you have a mirror that's actually, you don't see, it doesn't reflect anything. It's a kind of a black mirror. It doesn't reflect anything because there isn't enough light for it to reflect. So,
So remember that there was the empty screen in the very first picture that we saw. There
yeah.
were there's there's the window that you can't see out of, and here you have this black mirror, which is taken out by the black in the background of the picture, in the part of the picture that you choose to reproduce in your painting. That is the part of the Holbein
Mhm.
ambassador's painting.
Yes.
And there's a skull, which
There is,
you can't exactly see either. Um,
yeah, you can't, but you could feel it. I mean, you could, if you know the ambassador, I mean, you in a minute you feel it.
oh yeah, and the right side of the upper part of the painting has a closed book. Next to the closed book is an empty glass. It's a very dark painting in lots of ways.
It is. I don't know what he's saying about and think about what he's saying about me. But you do have another open book, in the painting of the ambassador. So you kind of,
Yes, that's right.
so you actually have more than so you at least have another open book in that sense. Yeah, it's a very dark painting, and I do think I kind of talk about Memento Mori, Memento Mori inside of this painting, feeling, or it really talk about vanitas.
Yeah.
Thinking that, and it is, kind of homage to Vanitas painting, and it is a Vanitas painting, I think, in that
Right.
sense.
And in that sense, the book with the open book with the reproduction of the ambassadors in it um, is part of the Vanitas
Yeah, it
imagery.
is. It really is. Yeah, it is. It really is. Um, I think a lot of the time that, when you look at, the beginning, especially where I come from, so the most of I could have saw, mostly all those old masters only in reproductions. So, and when, I started going abroad, and you go to, like, you go to see, for example, you see the ambassador, the real ambassador. So a lot of the time, when I'm going to that museum, and I'm going to the museum, or going to Metropolitan, or see, see the real painting. And I'm asking myself, do I really see the real painting right now? Or I kind of seen this painting after I see all the echoes of all the other paintings that I actually saw before in that reproduction. Do I could disconnect and really see it right now? And or I think something, or I do see the echo of it in a way. You know, so a lot of the time, that's some feeling that I have a lot of the time, when I use all those reference, that actually that kind of, and of course I kind of my DNA as an artist in a way. I take the inspiration from there and everything.
Sure.
But this is kind of what I'm thinking a lot of the time. I don't know if it makes sense, but
But why the Dutch?
further, I'm very drawn to that. I'm very drawn to Vanitas painting, that's for sure, and I'm very drawn to that period. I think there is something so classic in that period, and so I'm really drawn to that period, and I'm really drawn to to the richness of the work. I mean, the so I guess I'm really drawn to that, and I think all the materials that I got inside of each painting, you can really feel the richness of everything. So I think that maybe I'm very drawn to that in a way.
Yeah, you know why? I mean, I think it may have something to do with the uh, painstaking, in two senses of the word, attention to details. I mean, every painting is sort of when you start looking at your work with them, every Dutch painting starts looking like a Vanitas painting.
It is, maybe it is. Yeah, it's interesting. All right. This is another one of that. It's another one of the series, of those vanity that I try to make vanitas. This one is very autobiographical in a way. Um, I put here. It's actually I'm kind of. I put here a tablet. That inside the tablet you could see an aerial view of the place that I was grow up in when I was a child. My moshav. Which he has some kind of a roundish circle. He has a shape of a circle. It's based on a and it's very
Tell us something about the Moshav and your
so this is actually the Moshav. This is actually a work of one of my professor, one of my art professor, who did about that Moshav as well. This is the first Moshav in Israel, and it was I think it's 100 and something right now. It's 100 something right now. And it was like the idea of the Moshav, it was like a community, people that living in the community together. And each one got his own property. It's not like a kibbutz. Each they have their own property, but they're working together. Everything they're doing, everything together, and they help each other. It's like a very participate community. Everybody got his own house, but still. Uh, Very socialist kind of community and very Zionist, I guess, in that sense. Uh, so that in this moshav that I actually still have a house there. I still have a house in that moshav. So there is another. They actually did in the last few years. They did another circle. They made another circle on the moshav, and they start. And I put here a book by an author named Mary Shalev, which called Russian Novel, and which got a painting of another very famous Israeli painter from that era. And it's actually the book is telling a story that talking about that people that live there in a way, but not, it's a fiction, it's not a real story. And I put here the Druste cacao, which it's got some kind of a Druste effect that you have some inside. She hold another small girl that hold another small girl that it's like, like the effect of a mirror inside a mirror. And I put this Russian doll, and here I put another mirror and the flash. So I combine all of them together. Maybe talking about loop inside the loop inside the loop. And I think maybe a lot of the time, even when I lived in that, I've kind of felt that maybe it's talking about the loop that I felt that I'm inside of. I don't know.
Yes, I am. Now I'm beginning to understand what you are doing with the moshav. It's because it's a circle within a circle within a circle.
But I think it's
Yeah.
a circle within a circle, even in the psychology way, not
Yeah,
only not only in the shape of it.
right. Yeah, I see. And also it is the origin in which you sort of burst out of. Um, Very interesting. Yeah, and chocolate is in the center, you know. I mean, don't forget, Droste is chocolate.
No, it's cacao, it's not chocolate. Yeah, but
It's
yeah,
that's what chocolate is made out
of
of.
course, of course.
Um,
Right.
and yeah.
So this is actually one from another series. I did a series that was influenced by the dioramas of the National History Museum, and I came there. I came to visit there in 2018, and I was really amazed about. I came here with my husband, and we actually came here for him. He wanted to see the dinosaur bones or something, and then we stayed there for hours because of me, because I was hypnotized by people looking at those dioramas. I was really hypnotized. I was more hypnotized of people looking about on the dioramas than the dioramas themselves. I thought like that there are people looking on those the dioramas like it's a landscape or something. So it was very interesting for me, and I thought like it's like a time capsule that everything stayed, in that time. I mean, I thought it is like not from this century.
Well,
And
it's not. It isn't even from the last century, a lot of it. The heyday of those things was like from 1890 to 1940, something like that. That's when they made those things. So what about this jackrabbit in front of?
so I put, the jackrabbit. So I put the of course, I took the rabbit of. Uh, oh my God, I forgot his name. I put the rabbit of Dira, the famous rabbit of Dira, in front,
Uh,
like in a.
Peter Rabbit? Or no?
No, he has a very famous watercolor rabbit that he did.
Oh, Durr's
Dira, yeah.
jackrabbit. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. Of course.
And
Yeah.
so I put him in front of that, and I thought it felt to me interesting to that composition. And so I did a few of those diagrams, and I was mostly interested, about the dynamic of the power, the people that looking and who looking at who. I mean,
Yeah, right.
we have the taxidermas here, of the all the and then of the dead animals actually, and the people. So who looking at who, and the dynamic power between them. And I actually looked on the people that look on the and I started working in those painting when it was lockdown in COVID. And then you could actually get inside the museum in a virtual way. So I looked at the diagrams. I looked at them through my phone. I could actually get inside the museum and actually do. You can say I really took the painting from the diagram themselves. I didn't stand there, but I stand there by looking them through my phone. Because it was lockdown. And then I combined some of the photos that I took from that situation. You can see that actually the diagrams are more sharp than the people in the painting.
Also, it's interesting because the bears here seem to be looking very intently at the people who are not, however, looking back at them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I thought, because I do a lot of still life, and I don't really like taking landscape painting. And this is landscape painting inside of it's actually an interior of a landscape which is not a real landscape in a way. So
Yeah, it's a kind of, well, it's right. And it's a diorama too. It's not even
yeah, it's an artificial, it's not real.
yeah.
So it's mediation reality inside of mediation. So I thought it's really interesting in that sense. I thought it's a bit funny, that this is kind of a landscape, but it's not really a landscape. I mean, I call that painting Alaska, and then when I posted it online in Israel, there was one creator that asked me what. She even didn't ask me. She asked it above me. Why does he paint Alaska? Why does he need to paint Alaska? Something like that. So it was interesting for me. I thought it was. So I thought in that sense it's really interesting, because of course it's not Alaska, so.
It's as much Alaska as your wedding painting was Utah.
Yeah, exactly right. And this one is actually, I think I think it's one of the stronger one from that series.
Yeah, definitely.
And I really like the dynamic power between, I call it the tribe. And of course, there was the Bijan tribe here and the Bijan tribe from afar. And I saw the dynamic power between them, between this tribe, the old tribe, the old people tribe. If you can say, I mean, I'm pretty old now myself, but still. Uh, the people that's sitting next to the diagrams and then the diagram. So the dynamic power between them. And here you can really see that this is very sharp and they are really out of focus, kind of out of focus.
Yeah.
And when I did most of the series, I thought a lot about Hooper and the night walks because first of all, because of the composition and because the way I use all of those kind of foreshortened and composition of the diagram. So I thought it's really interesting connection in a way. And even the way I actually paint the people, I thought there is some kind of connection between that to that. And it really looked to me like it's got a connection, to American painting.
Yeah, it does. And the hopper also, when you look at a diorama and think of the hopper painting, it's kind of like a diorama itself of people.
Yeah, it
Um,
is. In a way it is. Yeah, in a way it is.
these people in their natural habitat, the coffee shop. Um,
Yeah, so I kind of thought, I kind of find the connection between them. And I mean, it is and for me, it is a really kind of for me like walking, inside an American painting in a way.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's something very American feeling about those dioramas, or at least to me they are, mainly because here in Chicago, I grew up with the with almost weekly visits to the Field Museum of Natural History.
I mean, I have a British friend that he
Tremendous.
actually told me that he has the same diagrams in England. So
In fact, they do. I discovered later. But I can't get out of my head that these are American. Maybe it's because they don't have buffalo in England.
yeah. So I was invited to do a show in Israel in a Petah Tikva museum, and they have a small they have a small next to the art museum. They have a next to it a very small nature museum, really small. They got like a small collection, and I kind of did some kind. So I kind of combined them with them, and then they invited. And actually, they shipped the painting from here to there and back and forward. And I did one with one of their dioramas that you can see that it's not so well made. And I kind of connected it to Bambi, so I thought it's connected to that. And I put another reproduction, a kind of reproduction of Frida Kahlo painting of her as a self-wound. It's a self-portrait of her as a wounded animal. And I thought, I thought it's combined I thought it's kind of the connection. And, even that is not really realistic, to put, to combine, books, with the dioramas. I think it's like kind of,
Doesn't make a lot of sort of sense because you don't have books at the diorama. But the
usually,
other day when we had a brief conversation about this, remember? You and I, we thought of a whole lots of interesting ways to connect all of those characteristics. I mean, Bambi,
yes.
um, uh, well, Bambi humanizes these animals, which I think the dioramas do as well, because I think because they're looking at the people watching them. They're looking at the outside so intently, and of course, Bambi humanizes Bambi, but it's also um, it's a book that comes from the very time that those dioramas were created.
Yes.
Um, Bambi was really right in the middle of the period where people were going to and creating and then going to visit dioramas um, most eagerly. And it was created in Vienna. Shoot.
Yes, it was created
Sorry,
by,
I can't do anything about this thing. It was created uh, by a Viennese author who wrote in Yiddish
yeah, he
and
was a Jewish author.
German. Is a Jewish author, and there's Frida Kahlo underneath there, and um, she was you might say a reproduction of a Jewish
Yeah, you
artist
told me that.
herself.
I didn't know that. That's interesting for me. I didn't know that. I really,
Yeah, she wasn't Jewish, I gather, but she represented herself as Jewish. So she's also a kind of a Bambi
they
character.
actually say there is a way to read Bambi, like in a way that it was actually written on the time, that Jewish people were uh, kind of hunted in Europe, in the pogroms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the symbols of like in the books, they always say man in the forest, man in the forest. So it's kind of symbolized that in a way. So there is a way to read Bambi in that way.
And these uh, particular fawns in the diorama are, in prison.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
look more like they're uncomfortable in their little glass cage than any of the other dioramas that you painted.
yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it is because it's from that. Yeah, yeah. I'm with you on that. I agree. It was really important to me the reflection of the light here. I really thought it will give it another kind of something.
Yeah.
Um, so this was in that museum, part of that show. It actually have another, yeah, it was. And this is another solo show of mine. And this is a other part of my that I did a lot of painting Most of it is, of course, with ladies friends of mine that are inside of, if we're talking about Dutch painting, okay? So they're kind of like inside of, they're always inside of a room, very dark, and the light is always very artificial, come from some kind of artificial lamp or something. And so this one is one of them. I call it Moonlight. And this is another one of them. And this was from the show. This is actually was one of the main pieces in the show that you created me.
Yes, that's right. That's right. I curated a small show of Doron's, and this was one of the pieces that was in it.
Yes.
But it's and of course you look at that, and it's a sort of a blue version of um, Vermeer's lady reading a letter, and does she have an actual letter there? I can't remember
She
anymore.
doesn't have a. She has a.
She has a computer.
She has a computer, but I thought, that it's interesting that we don't see the computer, you just feel the light, and it's
Yeah.
like kind of a mises that is outside the painting, and you feel it. In the beginning, I actually thought I didn't want it to paint the computer, and then I decided when I started doing it, I thought that it's actually better without it, that you only feel the light.
Yeah,
And then it's
because
like kind of a God that actually gives the light, to the.
I mean, in the Vermeer, so you do have a letter, and you have a window, and the window casts this light, which is very haunting. And this light is also very haunting, but it's not a window light; it's a computer light.
Yeah.
Um, and the relationship between these computers, two windows, is something that I mean, it's something your art is often engaged with. They are kind of a window. They're a window into some other world.
Yeah, and yeah, of course. Yeah, it is. And of course, light is very important to me in my work, as a painter, I mean, painter, when you are a painter, I mean, you're painting in the end their own painting. So light, and shadow, that is the main so yeah, so of course it's very important to me, and and the sensibility of it is very important. So, and this is actually connected to the more domestic one. This is my husband and our dog, and I call it Schlafstunde, which is, of course, the German word of um, um,
We call
like
it nap time.
nap time. Yeah, kind of a nap time. And again, I did play here. The light actually does come from the window, and I did it that it will be very luminant light. And it was very important to me to include a mirror in the painting, of course, because this is one of my things. And all of those, IKEA objects like this small lamp here, and it was very important to me. And all of those objects, and even you could even see, the sport, the sneakers and stuff. That was interesting for me. And then even that chair. This is actually a chair that was a. It was my grandmother's chair, so it was kind of important to me, to include it. I don't know. It's something of autobiographical. And that apartment that we live in, it felt very German for us in a way. Something felt very German in that apartment. I don't know how to explain it. Something spell so I thought it's interesting to call it Schlafstunde, and you consider the light here is very illuminating all of the situation. And this is a more recent one that I did. Uh, I call it double portrait. And I even put a very small Lucian Freud uh, Lucian Freud reference inside the painting.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask what that was.
Yeah, it was a joke for me to put it inside. I thought it's funny in a way. Uh,
Yeah, the other thing I don't know if we've been
Right.
emphasizing enough, maybe we have, is the wit in these paintings.
oh,
There's a lot of little private jokes or not so private jokes, jokes that one hopes other people will get that are embedded in this painting. The absurdity of the blue jeans mimicking the lovely folds and glistening light of the Dutch fabrics, that kind of thing. It's all has a wit really embedded into it.
Doron, would you perhaps be open to allowing in some audience questions or comments or whatever?
This is actually the last one we're going to talk
Oh,
about.
it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, please go ahead. That's fine.
Right.
And I think it's really apparent,
we started with a
come to the
couple.
19th century now.
So this is, of course, very obvious, an homage to Olympia, of course. And this is a drawing that I did, a portrait of a couple, a couple, friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, and my husband. And I thought it was very interesting to put them in that dynamic and to put the homage there. And of course, they have a dog; they don't have a cat. So they have a white dog, not a black cat. So I put the dog here. And I just find it when they didn't pose for me for hours. They told me it was from a picture, and I find the Simpsons pajama. So I thought it's interesting to include it in the in the painting. I thought it's a bit funny, and I really thought it really captured the dynamic between them in a way, the dynamic of the relationship inside of it. Yes, but Peg, do you have some?
No, I don't have a lot to add. I just think it's maybe um, it's one of the funnier pictures. And I'm sure you meant something by having the white guy administering to the black guy.
Yeah, of course.
The reversal, whatever. I mean, and they're both he's bringing flowers to her, or he's bringing flowers to him, I should say. So that's
It's bringing flower to him, yeah. But
yeah. But I think the greatest part of it is the pajamas, I must say. My pajamas kind of make the image.
I thought, in a way, I think so too. So
Yeah. But we wanted to end with a picture of a couple, since we started with one.
yeah, and of course, this is one of my recent paintings, so I thought it would be
Yeah.
interesting to finish with it.
So perhaps a couple of comments or questions or whatever. Let's see.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd be happy to.
I could start it off by saying I thought that, of course, I thought of Hopper as soon as I was looking at the museum series. But I also was thinking if Hopper were alive now, that might have been the sort of contextualization he would have chosen.
It's interesting. Yeah, it could be. It's
I
interesting.
think
Yeah,
that it could be.
interesting. Yes, it could be.
I mean, so it's very, very Hopper-esque, but it's also very much looking into the head of Hopper in a more contemporary way.
Which is also not really far from some of the stuff that he's doing with with 16th century, 17th century.
Yeah, right. It's just a different contextualization. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Yeah, that's interesting.
It's interesting thought. Yeah, it's interesting thought. It of course it is. He is one of my American idols, Upper. So
Also, that I kept thinking earlier on when we were looking at more of the Dutch master sort of material. You're definitely bringing surrealism into your realism.
yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't see my painting as a realism. I actually see it a lot more than surrealism than realism because of the way it's actually being made. So in a way, it's not. In a way, it's make it more surrealism. Yeah, I'm total 100% with you on that.
And
Yeah.
not only do I find the mirrors interesting, engaging, but the reflections not the bright light so much, but the reflections on the pages where the page is collapsing a little bit to one side or the other. And then there's, the highlight that you're portraying there is very tasty.
Yes, it's actually when I'm drawing a lot of the time when I'm painting. So when there is a reflection, actually not a flash reflection, those small reflection,
Hmm.
that is the stuff that actually capture me. That's like gave me all the time gave me go, oh, you have to that's what I wanna that gave me this is my passion, to draw those small reflection.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you see it in the painting, but there is my passion is actually there. So it's like
Oh, your own reflection of you. Yeah,
yeah.
I didn't catch that, but I like the little pinpoint reflections also. They're little highlights really is what they are, scattered around in sometimes very odd locations, which make more sense. The longer you're looking at the image, the more they make sense.
Yeah, thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks. Oh, wow.
Do we have anyone else that would like to say anything or make a comment or ask a question? If you do, just unmute yourself.
Hi, I just wanted to basically say thank you. It was fascinating, just and intriguing, so well done. And also, how do you view the pieces that had the viewers in them? I was just noticing the jump from between you're having everything is you're looking in on a room, and then suddenly you're now looking at these dioramas, and you have the people that are viewing the dioramas as part of the dialogue now. So to me, there was like this different setup that was happening suddenly in your images, and almost in like this. I don't want to say the story that you're telling, but the just how you were seeing now that introduction of it, and how it did it change anything for you? Did it have any other interesting dynamic or meaning, or just so if you could comment on that, and why you chose to then introduce the viewers as part of this scene of looking at these dioramas.
It's a great question. What really interests me actually, even when I look at when I came to the National Museum, what really interests me was actually the people looking at the dioramas. So I kind of look at those. I thought that it's really interesting to do people looking at people, and we are looking at the people. So then I thought that
Right.
the viewer is another part of that chain. And because we're looking at them as they actually the dioramas when we're looking at them. So then the viewer is actually taking is another part of that chain. So yeah, that's a great question. So that's really what I thought when I painted them.
Yeah, you were bringing in a whole other dimension. Is what I was seeing, and it was so quite different from the other paintings. I mean, just that aspect of it, because you've introduced the third, I don't want to say the third window, but another layer of the viewer viewing the viewers viewing the diorama, versus just at this point you're using the masterworks where the mirrors were doing strange things, but now you're like introducing these people and they're viewing it. It
Yeah.
just was interesting.
Yes, it's a great, yeah.
I'd like to jump in and thank our presenters, Doron Wolf and Margaret Olin. I'd like to thank our programming director, Alex Cohen, our staff, our volunteers, and our board, and remind you there's no event on May 25th, Memorial Day Monday. I hope that you will enjoy a long weekend. We look forward to seeing you on Monday, June 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern for Gail Levin on her new Alice Baber biography, and I'll be interviewing her myself, which should be a pleasure. And
Great.
I hope we'll have the pleasure of your company. And thank you again, Doron and Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure.